All right, welcome everybody. It is Tuesday night and I hope you're ready to do some stamping. If you are new to my Facebook page, my name is Julie Brown. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and some of you may be watching on YouTube. I do my lives on Facebook and then I upload them on YouTube, so either way, welcome. Also, either way, if you have any questions or any comments about what I'm doing or what you see, just go ahead and type them in the comments, and even if you are watching the replay on YouTube, I will get back with you and answer any questions that you guys might have. So I'm going to take care of some housekeeping really quick, and then we're going to get going because my internet has been sketchy for the last 2 days. It'll just like completely knock me off. So hopefully I'll be able to get through this tonight. If not, if it does go down, just know I will re-record it and I will get it posted on both Facebook and YouTube. All right. So, July hostess code, I finally have it right. Yay for me. If you guys haven't, if you've watched my last two videos, I had my June hostess code up there, but here is the July hostess code. So if you want to place an order with me, please use that hostess code if your order is under $150. You can place orders through me at juliebrown.stampinup.net. You can reach out to me at juliescreativestampin@gmail.com. I have a Pinterest, Facebook, and Instagram account that is Julie's Creative Stamping, and then my YouTube channel, you have to put juliebrown.Julie's Creative Stamping. And then my blog is stampinjuliebrown.blogspot.com. So there is all the essentials that you guys need, and I'm just gonna look over here at my computer and make sure it is streaming live. Okay, it looks like we are good. So you just never know. So tonight we are going to be working with this really cute bundle. It's called Christmas Scottie. And so here's the bundle. Sorry, let me get that up there. So the Christmas Scottie bundle, and that is the item number. Now, understand with any of the bundles, you can buy them separately. So you can buy just the stamp set and just the punch, if that's what you want. But if you do buy them together, when they're selling as bundles, because sometimes, like this is a mini catalog, sometimes they'll carry over to an annual catalog, but they separate out the bundle and then you have to buy these separate. If you buy them together, you do get a 10% discount. So some of the other things we're going to be using tonight is this oval punch. It's called a double oval punch. And I've already kind of used it, but I just wanted to show you what I used. And then we're also going to be using, you guys I think are learning, they're like my favorite, the stylish shape dies. So if you haven't seen those, this is what they look like. So they're stitched, and we have them in squares, circles, and banners. And I do use the circles the most. I need to kind of get out of my box and start using some of these other shapes. You know, isn't that funny how sometimes we just get so used to doing something and we just kind of go with that. So I'm going to show you a couple of little techniques for making kind of your own background paper. And so I'm going to be showing you two cards that are not really similar, but just kind of the same type of stamping. And then the last card is completely different. So make sure you hold on till the end so that you get to see it all. All right, so let's get started. So our first card is a fun fold card. And we're going to be doing some embossing and all sorts of fun stuff with this one. Okay, so I basically started with a 4 1/4 by 11. I almost said whisper white again. Basic white piece. Now, I think you guys have heard me say this before. On these fun fold cards, you really want to make sure that you're burnishing. And when we talk about burnishing, we're talking about taking something like this, which we call a bone folder, and you're just going to make sure you're pushing down that crease. And the reason that you do that is because you want it to lay as flat as possible. Because anytime we're working with fun folds, you have the chance of them wanting to stay open like that. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I usually spend a little bit more time making sure those edges are burnished. Okay, so now we are going to create, let me bring in a piece of scrap paper. we are going to create our own, sorry, I'm trying to grab something here, our own designer series paper. So what I'm going to do is I am going to bring in soft succulent ink, and I am going to just blend this entire page with soft succulent ink. So, and you guys know I always start off the page, and I do that because you'll notice where I touch out here, it leaves a very distinct mark, and I don't want that on my paper. And so I always make sure that I always touch off the page first and then just bring in the color from that way. And I'll come in on different edges just because sometimes the edges get a little bit dark right where you're coming in. And so I will kind of trade off where I'm coming in on the edges. So again, I'm just going to blend this all the way across. And I usually kind of do a really light, when my first trip down the page, I'm going to keep it kind of light. And then I kind of take a look at it, see if it's dark enough for me or if I like the way the shading is. And if I don't, then I will, like I'm doing now, I'm going to just kind of tap that in there, and I'm going to bring in some more color because it was a little bit light for me. So I want to get some more color in here. And so, I mean, you know, this can take time, but it's also kind of therapeutic a little bit. Hey, Janet. Welcome, welcome. So I'm just blending onto a basic white piece right now because we are going to be designing our own designer series paper. We are using the Christmas Scottie Bundle tonight. And again, I'm just going until I like the color. So I think I'm good there. I think that this is going to be good for what I'm doing. All right. So then I can just put that, and just always remember, like you see, I have these little things, and I got these, I can't remember, Lisa Curcio had them, and I ordered them. I'm not sure if I like them yet because they kind of make these sit weird in my stand that I have. But always remember that, you know, you can wash these. They don't come completely clean, but you can wash them and reuse them. So that's why I have, like, I use this for all of my greens. You know, so I'll wash it, and that way I know what colors I'm using with that. Okay, so then that was soft succulent. Now I am going to come in with evening evergreen, and I am going to come in with this really fun stamp. It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys can see it because it's clear. It's kind of like a plaid. It looks like a piece of cloth. And we're going to ink this up, and now I'm just going to stamp this in various places onto this piece that I just blended. So I'm going to come in up here, and then I'm going to come in down over here. And then one of the things you can do is, like, these little corners over here, if you want a little bit more pattern, you can just barely touch them, and that brings in, you know, that pattern there. Same here, you can just barely come in and touch it, and I think I might do it down here in this corner as well. Just barely come in and touch, and it just kind of adds to that. All right, so now what I'm going to do is, oh, and I wanted to give you guys a tip. Sometimes when we get these polymer stamps, they don't want to stamp real solid. And I don't know if any of you have ever had a problem with that, where they're not stamping real solid. And so one of the things that you can do, one of the things that I do is I take my Versamark stamp pad and I will stamp that up. And then I'll just kind of stamp off with that a couple of times. and then clean that off. And then usually not, I mean, probably 99% of the time, then when you go to ink it up, you get a nice clear image. But yeah, because sometimes the polymer stamps, they'll put a kind of a protective coating on them, and sometimes it causes them to resist ink. So just keep that in mind with the polymer stamp sets. Okay, so now I'm going to come in, and we've got this little, it looks like a little snowflake. I don't know if you guys can see. And I'm going to come in with Versamark. Now this can be a little difficult because the Versamark is clear, but I want to come in and get some snowflakes on here. And my goal here is not to not to stamp over where I've already stamped. And so this is where it can be a little bit tricky because I have no clue where I have just stamped. I'm trying to kind of do a little pattern just to kind of help me, so I kind of know. So I'm kind of like going in the same general pattern as far as how I'm laying this down. And then hopefully that is going to keep me from stamping in the same place. All right, so now I'm going to bring in some white embossing powder, and it's going to get loud because I am going to heat this up. So I'm going to bring in this white embossing powder, and we're just going to cover this whole thing. The nice thing about the embossing powder is that you can like use everything that's in your jar, because most of this is going to come off and you'll get to reuse it. This stuff lasts forever. Oh, you know what I should have done and I didn't do is my embossing buddy. So let's hope this works out without the use of the embossing buddy. What the embossing buddy does, and Stampin' Up! Now has it back in stock, is it takes the static off so that the powder only sticks to the Versamark. Now I noticed after I did that I kind of left this top corner without any snowflakes, so I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that. And then we're going to cover where I just stamped. And then you can kind of go over if you feel like maybe there's not, like the embossing powder didn't really hold on good. And so I'm trying to just kind of move it in the light so I can see. It looks like I've got good coverage on all of it. We shall see. And then like I said, this is one of these little tidy trays. Stampin' Up! Now has these back as well. You just pull this little plug out and you pour your powder back into your container. And they're really nifty. Okay, so I'm going to heat up my heat tool. So again, bear with me. I know it gets loud. And you always want to make sure you're not pointing your heat tool towards your powder. All right, so now we're just going to heat this up. Let me get it closer so you can see the magic. My grandkids call this the magic. So basically you're just kind of going over everywhere you stamped just to make sure that it becomes glossy. So can you see the difference? Hopefully you can. And it does get hot holding this. And because I'm doing this at my desk, I don't have my little tool that I usually hold this with. So let me just turn this around. Whew, that is hot. It does get really hot. And again, we're just going to heat up all these little snowflakes. Because what happens if you don't have them completely heated up is if you haven't turned the powder into where it's glossy, then it'll wipe right off. Okay, so let me just, oh, I've got powder everywhere. Let me just bring that closer so you guys can see. So how fun is that? So basically I've just kind of created some designer series paper. So now what I'm gonna do is I've got to cut this down so that it fits, and so I gotta remember what I cut it down to. I believe one is 2 5/8 and the other one is 2 1/2. Let's hope that's right. Whoops. All right, so I'm gonna take this, and this is gonna be my 2 5/8. So here's 2, and then I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 5/8. And we're gonna cut that, and that really should leave 2 1/2 left. And it's a little bit longer, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and cut this side off because I would rather have the pieces I stamped, or the part that I stamped. So I'm gonna cut just that little tiny edge off. Alrighty. So that was kind of creating your own designer series paper. And that's why I try to tell everybody, I mean, pretty much on this card, besides the real red cardstock that I'm bringing in, I'm using basic white cardstock. And this just goes to show you that you don't have to have a lot of different colors. I mean, it's nice to have the colors, and I like all the colors. But you know, if you're sitting at home and you need to make a card and you don't have colors, just design your own designer series paper. I just did it by just blending. So it kind of made this look like it was a piece of evening evergreen and soft succulent designer series paper, right? Okay, so that piece is gonna go there. And then this piece is gonna go on the front flap. Now I do try to kind of line it back up like how I cut it. So like I can see that that was where that was stamped, right? And so that's where I wanna line that up when I'm putting this on. So I'm just gonna shut that because I'm trying to get this level across the bottom edge here. And then we're just gonna lay that down. So then it's gonna open like so. All right. Now, I've never really stamped like this before, but this set has the cutest little ribbon stamp. And so I'm actually gonna use that. First, I'm gonna do my sentiment on the inside. And I'm gonna use the sentiment that says, may your days be furry and bright. Furry and bright. I love it. And we're gonna use the evening evergreen. So I'm gonna bring that in, ink that up, try to get this straight. And then I'm just gonna put this about right there. Okay, don't know if I got that straight because I'm not leaning over it all tonight. So then what I decided I wanted to do was, like I said, this stamp set has the funnest little piece of ribbon, and I've used it in a lot of the cards. So isn't this a fun stamp? It's just a ribbon, and it's so stinking cute. And I'm gonna come in with some real red. And this is gonna be kind of the tricky part right here. So what I'm gonna do is, there's a crease here, but I'm actually gonna stamp over that crease. So I'm gonna lay this down, and I am going to just lay that down like that. And I'm pushing kind of hard because I want it to go over that crease. Then I'm gonna take this and turn it upside down, and we're gonna do the same thing up here. Isn't that ribbon fun? What a fun stamp. I love it. I don't know why I'm so tickled with this ribbon stamp, but I really like it. Alrighty. So now I am gonna come in, and I've got a piece of white here, And I am going to come in with our little Scottie dog. And I had to prep this one quite a bit to get it to stamp correctly. It really tries to resist the ink. Okay, so there's my little Scottie dog. And then I'm going to let me clean this, and then right above this, because I'm gonna be cutting this out with one of the stylish shape dies. And so I want to bring in the Merry Christmas, and I think I want to do that in Evening Evergreen as well. But I know I've got to get it really close to this puppy. So I know I've got to bring this down quite a bit. So I'm going to kind of like try to get between his ear and his tail. Like so. So it's kind of touching. Just because I know my circle die barely goes around that. Can you hear the squeaky squeaky when I clean it? All right. So I'm going to bring in my die. Let me grab the die. And I believe on these stylish shape dies, it is the second one down. And I just want to show you guys something. I know I showed this before, but I label all of my dies. And so I start with the littlest one being 1 all the way out. And so if you guys ever hear me say I use number 5, or you read any of my directions and it says the number 5 circle, just know that I start with the smallest. So like this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. And I know not everybody does it that way, but just like I said, if you ever watch what I'm doing or reading my directions and you see that, that's what I mean. And I still have my big die cut machine over here, so that's the one we're using tonight. So I'm going to bring this in, and I definitely want to tape this in place so that we get everything cut. Then we're just gonna, so we have plate 1, plate 2, plate 3, and then what we're cutting, and then another plate 3 on top. And we're gonna run this through. Whoopsie. I knocked into my light. It's like, oh no, not the light. So this is the only dies I'm using tonight because I really kind of wanted to focus on punches. And so for the other 2 cards, I'm going to be using that double oval punch for like the sentiments. Just because I think sometimes we forget to use our punches because we get so stuck on the dies, right? Okay, so then we're going to bring this in. Oh no, I forgot to wrap my ribbon. Dang it. I tell my class all the time, don't forget to wrap your ribbon. And then here I forgot to do it. That's okay, I can fix it. So I'm just gonna take this and stick that just like so. Now, the other thing I wanna do is I wanna cut out a bow, and I'm gonna just grab a scrap piece of real red because this little this punch punches out the dog and a bow. So I want to punch out the bow. So I'm just going to feed it in to the top, and I'm just going to punch out that bow. Oopsie. All right. And then now I'm going to take this bow and I'm going to add it to my puppy. Because, you know, he's a Christmas puppy. Must add him. Okay, so we just kind of want to stick that little bow so it covers like where that collar line is. All right, so now I've got to go back and fix this because I totally messed up because I wanted to put that ribbon over there. So I have this handy dandy little Cricut thing here. And so I can just kind of raise my edges a little bit. And because I know I've got adhesive right here, I am going to make sure I get that on that adhesive. This is not the ideal way to do this. The ideal way to do that is to wrap it before you put it on the card. Yeah. And I'm sure those of you that come to my class are going, ah, she finally did it, because I'm always telling them, make sure you wrap your ribbon before you put it down. And the reason is because, as you can see, it's a mistake that I make often. So I always tell my class members, the reason that I warn you about these mistakes is because I have made them. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add this little piece right here. And again, we're gonna make sure that we only put glue on this left side. So one of the things that I like to do is kind of get it centered here. And then I'll kind of open it and lay it down and grab a pencil and put a little mark, and that way I've got this little mark here. Let me show you. And I know I've got to keep my glue on this side of that mark so that it doesn't come out from behind. And then if you want to, it is not necessary, but if you're afraid that mark might show, then I just go ahead and erase that. Okay, now I'm going to flip this back over. Close this down, get that re-lined up the way I want it, and then just press that down. Okay, and then I don't have any glue over here on the inside, because if you get glue here, it'll end up making it shut there. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to bring in a couple of my mini glue dots. And of course my real right hand, my take your pick tool. And I want this to kind of be secured, so I'm gonna just kind of pop one there, but you'll notice I'm not pressing down really hard, and that is because if you press down really hard, you're gonna see the indentation of the glue dot. And so I just kind of lay it and I barely touch that down. Okay, then we're gonna tie ourselves a bow. So for those of you that have my bow makers, everyone always says, how do I get a bow maker? Place an order with me and you get a bow maker for free. Oh, I may not have given myself enough. I usually give myself a little bit more ribbon to mess with, but we can make this work. Oh, sorry, let me walk you through it. So anyway, you wrap around, we're working with these two because we're making a smaller bow. So we're gonna wrap around those two legs, and we're gonna go up through the center, bring it down around and up through the center again at the bottom, and then grab this tail over here and tie your knot, like so. So yep, you just gotta place an order with me and you get a bow maker. All right, and now I'm gonna take, I don't know if I have any, oh, it looks like I have still one left. So I'm gonna take this little bow and I'm gonna stick it right there, stick my glue dot there, and then stick this right onto that like so. And then I'm gonna trim these ugly edges off. So trim one and trim the other. And I don't have like a perfect trick on getting these perfectly straight. I guess I don't worry about it too much. All right, guys, what do you think? Card number 1, making our own designer series paper. I'm just gonna add one little thing to this just to kind of give it one more little pop. I'm gonna bring in our basic pearl jewels, which I'm going to be using on all of our cards tonight. That putty was dried up, so we'll just use this side. And we're just gonna bring that in and stick it right there on that bow. Whoops. All right, so what do you think? Yay, do we like it? Isn't that fun? Do you like the ribbon? Isn't that ribbon so much fun? So there we created our own designer series paper with the stamps and doing some embossing with those snowflakes, and we got ourselves a little Christmas card. How fun! Okay, card 1 done. So card 2, I decided to kind of do the same plan with that one stamp, but I wanted to make a card or show you how to make a card that is not a Christmas card. It's like, what did I say? No Christmas? Because this stamp set has some sayings in it that aren't necessarily just Christmas. So it has one that says, "You are always loved." It has one that says, "Woof." So some really cute, fun little sayings that we can put on here. Okay, so again, we've got our Whisper White. And now we're going to bring in 2 of the other dog images. Now these 2 dog images, the punch does not cut these out. It only cuts the one that the first one that I stamped, where the dog's standing up on all 4 legs. But I'm also going to be playing with the ribbon with this one. So I'm going to get this one as close as I can to the left and stamp that down. And then we're going to bring in the other dog image. So there's 3 dog images with this stamp set, and they're all just really cute. I like them a lot. And stamp him as far as I can to the right. Now this is what I'm talking about. You'll see, and it looks okay because it just makes the dog look like his hair's kind of ruffled. But see what I mean, how sometimes you don't get a full image? That's what I'm talking about. And that's why you want to always kind of prep these with Versamark ink. So if I would have probably put Versamark ink on that one, it would have, you don't have to do it every time, just kind of the first time you're stamping. Okay, so now I'm going to bring my ribbon in because I'm in love with this stamp set, this stamp. And I am going to cover this little puppy over here, and I'm going to bring in some gorgeous grape for all my purple lovers in the group. And we are going to lay this down so that it touches his little mouth over here, and then I'm going to kind of maneuver it up so that it touches over here as well. So then it looks like these 2 puppies are having a tug-of-war with that ribbon. Fun, huh? Now you could just leave it like this and it would be super cute, but I wanted to add some designer series paper. And then we're also going to do some of that stamping that I did before. It's the exact same technique, but again, this is the type of thing that you can do when you do not have a lot of designer series paper. So like if I'm using just a strip here, and this is the perfect type of thing to do when you just have some scrap pieces of paper and you're wanting to design a card. You just come in and you get an image and start creating a card. I'm not going to worry about this middle section because I'm going to be putting a piece of paper there. But I do want to come in over here, kind of like I did last time, and bring that in. And then I'm going to try to get one in over here. I don't know if I can. Oh, just barely. There it is. Okay. So again, this is just a great idea. So, you know, there's this type of card right here. This card I'm making right now is a perfect card to get rid of your scraps. This would be, I mean, you could use almost every scrap you have just by doing this. And so this is actually from, so we have all of our collections, color collections, have the 6x6 designer series paper that matches all of the colors in that family. So this is the brights, and this is the one side, and this is the other side. And so because this is kind of plaid, I didn't want to do that. I decided to use this side. So just so you guys know, all of our color families, the subtles, the brights, the in colors. Oh, I think I just ran out of my... all of them have this designer series paper. So I'm just going to kind of put this between these two, because again, I kind of want it to look like these guys are kind of running through the house. My puppies do this. They run through the house fighting with stuff, and we've got one pulling each end of that ribbon through this. I cut this a little bit big on purpose because I don't know why when I try to cut it exact, I always end up either cutting, I end up cutting it short. Okay, so then we're going to come in and we are going to take this and let me get my my new Stampin' Seal. I just put this one in here, so I got to get it started. I love it when I have a new one in because it runs so smooth. Okay, and then we're going to open that up and we're going to set this on here. And again, like I said, this is absolutely just kind of, you know, I've got a bunch of scraps of paper. This is a perfect layout. And you don't just have to use something like this. You could bring flowers in. You know, I mean, this could all be flowers over here with a strip of designer series paper. So this is just the idea to get it, to use that. Okay, so for the inside of the card, I'm going to finish the front in a second, but so for the inside of the card, I'm going to bring back our little Scottie that's standing up. And, oh, I forgot to put their little collars on. Hold on. I'll go back and do that. And we're going to stamp him so like he's just kind of walking onto the page here. So I kind of stamped him off the page. And you guessed it, we're bringing the ribbon back because I like the ribbon stamp. It's really unusual for me to like fall in love with one stamp in the stamp set, but this ribbon is just too much fun. Too much fun. And it just makes the cards cute. Okay, so again, we're going to look like he's got it in his mouth. And there we go. It's like he's pulling it across the bottom of the page there. And then what I did with this one, because it's got a sentiment on the front. So let me go back, and so the sentiment that we're going to be putting on the front is "You Are Always Loved." But then the other sentiments were more like Christmas. So I decided to bring in, this is one of the celebration stamp sets. If you spend $100, you get this stamp set for free. Tons and tons of different sentiments. You guys all know I love sentiment stamps, so obviously I was going to get this one. So I'm going to actually, because on the front I'm putting "You Are Always Loved," I'm going to use this "You've Got This" for the inside of this card. So I'm bringing this in, and I think I want to do it in black. If I can figure out where I set my black. All right. Okay, so here we go. Oh my gosh, I hope I don't stick my head too much in here. This is so hard to try to get that straight when I can't like get my head completely over it. But it's gonna say "You've Got This," and that's gonna be the inside. Trying to keep stuff out of my, so we're gonna put that on the inside. And then we'll finish up the front. I pre-punched out the double oval, and you'll get to see how that goes together now. Oh, I forgot one thing. I keep forgetting their little collars, so let me do that while I'm thinking about it. So there's this little itty bitty stamp. Can you see it? Little baby stamp. And because the dogs are black, this doesn't show up great, but it's still really cute. So it's kind of like they've got a little collar with a bow on the end. And so that just stamps right there in the middle. And we're gonna do it on this guy. And obviously if I was using a lighter colored dog, I could do a brown dog and you could really see that bow. But there, so let me get it closer so you can see. So see how that just put like a little bow on their collar. So that's that little itty bitty stamp set, or stamp in the stamp set. All right, so let's finish up the front. Okay, so when you punch out that double oval, you get the bottom one is the straight edge, and then the top one is a scalloped edge. And so obviously I put in 2 separate colors to do this. But a lot of times you can put like in the black, and you'll get this one and this one in black, and then you do it in the white, and then you can just switch these up, right? You can put the black one on the inside, and you can use white embossing powder and still use that. So just a thought, just a thought. Okay, so now I need to find the You Are Always Loved with my black ink. It's like, man, where are all my purple lovers tonight? I did a purple card and none of them are here. Well, I think Janet, you like purple, but the ones that really, really like purple are not to be seen. All right. So here we go. And then basically all you do, and like I said, this is the oval punch. That's what I used, this oval punch. It's called the double oval punch. It's this one right there. Let me pull that up. Okay, and then all you do is you're gonna glue this to that piece. And just glue that down. And then I'm gonna bring in some of my dimensionals. So I'm just gonna, like, because I'm using all of my edges here because I've used all the dimensionals out of the middle. Again, get into the habit of doing this. Don't throw this away when you've used all the middle ones. Keep the outsides edges because they're dimensionals too. So we're just going to pull that off. We're going to bring this back. We're going to take this one, stick that like so, and then we're going to bring in those pearls again. Let me see if I can get my putty to work this time. And then I'm just going to put like one of the big ones, one of the mediums, and then one of the smalls. All right, card 2 done. We're going to be on to card 3 in just a second. So what do you think? Do you like it? So it says, you are always loved, and the little puppies are fighting over the ribbon. And then this puppy obviously won the ribbon, but it says, you've got this. So this is kind of a good card to send to someone who's going through some trials in their lives. Let them know they're loved and let them know that they've got this. All right. So card 2, so I hope you liked it. Okay, so the last card is a little more complicated, only because of the technique that I'm going to be using. And so I'm bringing in some, I've got a 4 by 5 1/4 and a 3 3/4 by 5 of the white pieces. And then this paper is the, what is it called? The Gingham Cottage. So there is a ton of paper in this set, but it all has kind of this gingham pattern, and it's in the pinks and the greens and the purples and the blues, and it's just really fun. Now, the reason I've got 2 pieces is because I wanted to have both this. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. But let me show you how to cut this first, and I've already kind of cut it. And so I'm going to use this one to show you how to cut this. So this is a 3 3/4 by 5 piece, and you're going to line this up at 2 1/2. And you guys will notice, I don't know if you noticed, but I have put a piece of white paper right where the numbers are, just so I can see the numbers better. So that's kind of a handy tip. So I'm going to line that up at 2.5. I'm going to move all my cutter up to the front, and then I'm going to come down to 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to stop there. Okay, then you could just fold this back, but oh, what is her name? Cindy, is it Brumbaugh, showed me this really fun technique of bringing in a ruler, and I'm going to line the ruler up with this edge here and then my corner up here. So I'm going to line it up there and there, and then I'm going to take my bone folder and just draw a line, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. Again, I'm lining it up with the cut where it came down at to the point there, and line it up there, and oh, maybe I can see that. And then again, I'm just going to run that up there. All right. And so basically this would fold over like so. But ideally, if you don't want to do what I'm fixing to have to do, which is cut these things apart, ideally you want a designer series paper that has kind of like maybe flowers on one side or a pattern on the other side. And then when you fold it, either the same pattern in a different color or a completely different pattern, which this does, but it just didn't stand out enough for me. So let me get this one. The green's a little harder to see. Let me get this one folded, and I'll show you I'll show you what my end goal was, and then maybe that'll help you understand what I'm talking about when I say that you kind of want it to be two different patterns, but they need to be like distinctly different patterns, or the same pattern but same pattern but a different color. We had a gingham paper a couple years ago for Christmas that one side was green and the other side was red, and that's the perfect thing that you want for this, is something that does that. Okay, so I'm going to fold this down, and I'm going to fold this one down. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one here, and I'm actually going to cut off right on that line. I'm going to take my paper snips, and I am going to cut this because I want these collars to be red. Now that is going to leave me with this piece of paper that has a weird cut in it, but I'm sure I will be able to find something to use this on in a card. I know you guys trust me, you know I will. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to just take my liquid glue and flip this over so that now my collar is red and not green. And I'm just going to lay that down right on top. Whoops. That's the nice thing about liquid glue, is it gives you some wiggle room. But then once it's down hard and fast. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing here. And I probably put too much glue on this end, so I'm just going to wipe that off before I even try to put it on there, because I don't want it smushing out of the end up there. So this one wasn't as an exact fit as the other one. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to come in here, because I can see some of the green, and I'm actually going to trim. Funny how one side was perfect, other side is not. I got too much glue on me. And I think I'm going to leave that edge. I don't think that edge is going to bother too much. Okay, So now what we want to do is we want to back this with this piece of Whisper White, but before I do that, I'm going to come way down here and I'm going to put a little tiny dot. And what I'm going to do is I am going to bring back in our little dog that is kind of standing up. And I am going to ink him up in black. And because he's in black, he's going to cover that pencil mark that is there. And I'm just going to kind of bring him in to where his head is sticking pretty far up. Like so. All right. And then let me clean this. All right. So now I am going to go ahead and I'm going to take this piece. I'm actually going to flip this over because I got some glue on there. And I am going to bring my tape runner. And you'll notice I'm using more than I normally do. And that's just because I want this to lay down really good. Now the other thing that I'm going to do, because my tape runner doesn't really, it can't go into a pointy edge, I'm going to bring in some of that liquid glue for these corners, because I want those corners to lay down good. And then we're going to flip this over and we are going to get this lined up exactly even so that it looks like that. So that's what it looks like so far. I'm having way too much fun. Okay, so then I'm going to bring in a couple scraps of white, and I am going to stamp 2 of these little puppies here. And we're going to use our punch this time. So I'm going to ink that up. And do that. Now, some people might say, hey, you had enough room to go that way. There's a reason I'm not doing that, and you'll see that reason in just a second when I go to use this punch. All right, and there's our second dog. Let me clean him off. And now we're going to bring in our fun little punch, and you'll see why, like if I had put a dog here and tried to punch, I would punch into this puppy, because above the puppy is that bow. Right? And so you have to think about how it's going to cut out. And I can use this little white bow later. But you've got to think about how things punch out, so you don't want to like put a dog here and dog here, because obviously it would punch into that dog. So always kind of look at your punches before you start stamping a bunch of things on your paper, just so you know how they're going to punch out. All right. So I've got these 2 now. I've got that one. So one of the things I'm going to do this time is I'm going to take my Stampin' Right marker, and I'm going to actually color in this little collar with this red marker. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Same thing on this one. Now it does have a little stamp, just so you know. I'll show it to you. It does have a itty bitty stamp that I could have just as easily inked that up and stamped it. So again, options, right? Okay, so let me move these 2 out of the way. So now we're going to kind of build our card. And so I'm putting it on Garden Green. And again, this paper is that cottage, gingham, what did I say? Gingham Cottage. And I should have had all the paper out for you, because it's really fun paper, and you get a ton, and I mean a ton of paper with that one. But like I said, it's got all of these gingham patterns in a bunch of different colors. So really fun. So this is a 4 by 5 1/4 piece. And I'm going to just set this here. And now we're going to take this piece and we're going to add that to the card front. So I knew it was going to be a little longer tonight because I'm doing 3 cards and kind of from scratch. I didn't do a lot of prep work tonight. But did you notice how easy this is with the punch and just stamping, and pretty easy. Okay. So then I'm going to come in with that little bow, and I want to put a bow on each side of my Scottie up here, but I want one green and one red just to kind of stay with the theme that we've got going here. So I'm going to do the red one first, and we're going to angle it this way. Oh, I should have gone a little lower, but that's okay. And now let me clean this, because now I'm going to do green on the other side of my little Scottie. And we're going to angle it out as well. Okay, so we got our 2 little bows up there. That way it looks like he's looking at something. All right, and then we're going to bring in these little oval pieces, and we're going to use real red with the Merry Christmas. So I hope I've showed you how versatile this is. I mean, we've designed our own designer series paper tonight. And we've done a lot of the stamping. So we've done a lot of the stamping, and then now I'm punching out. So this set can be used if you just want to stamp. But if you get that punch, then you can punch that little puppy out. And I could have just as easily probably stamped onto this and stuck those on there as well. But I'm not, I didn't trust myself stamping on something that small. I could have set it up on my Stamparatus, but I did not. So this is what we get tonight. All right, and then this is going to go here. All right, and then I'm not popping this up because I'm going to pop some of these Scotties up on the front. So here we go. So this is basically going to kind of be what keeps these little collars down. Alrighty. And then I think I'm going to grab, yeah, let's do the inside, get that out of the way. And so for this one, I'm going to bring the little dog that's looking over his shoulder, if I can find him. What did I do with him? Oh, these clear stamps are hard to see. Whoopsies. All right. So we're just going to bring this little guy in this corner over here. And he's going to be looking back this way. And I'm not going to let him play with the bow this time. But I could have, and it would have been really cute. Right? All right, let me clean that. And then we're going to bring in that, that fun little saying, may your days be furry and bright. This is definitely a fun card to send to people who love their animals, right? They would love this as a Christmas card. And if you don't have any animal lovers in your group, then you can just use a different stamp set for the inside and not use, I mean, a different sentiment stamp for the inside and not use that. But I have several people in my family and in my friends that love their fur babies. All right, so we're going to put this on the front, and then we're going to, on the inside, and then we're going to finish the front, and then we are going to be done with card 3. Woohoo! So again, if you guys are on and you're wondering, you know, you're seeing people put comments on, you just click on the comments and you can click in any questions or anything that you have. And I do try to look up once in a while to answer questions. All right, so there's that. So now we're gonna bring in these fun little Scotties here. And we're gonna bring in some dimensionals. And we're actually gonna be using both the mini dimensionals and the regular, and I'll show you why. So I'm just gonna take these. Oh my gosh, some of these just don't wanna come up. Some of these give me some issues. And so, again, I'm just gonna make sure I'm putting these in good areas so that everything is kind of held up. And the reason I'm bringing in the mini dimensionals is because it has this like an edge where you can kind of cut a small straight little piece that works really good for like little tails and stuff like this, So that's why I'm using both the mini, because this one doesn't really have like everything is curved on this one. See how when you take these out, this is curved? And the mini dimensionals have that straight edge, and I really like using that straight edge for things like this where I'm needing something to fill in like a little tail or something so that it can be held up as well. Okay, so again, I'm gonna bring those in and I'm gonna just snip that, grab that up, and stick that on that tail. And then we are just gonna add these guys to the front, and then we're gonna add some embellishments, and we're gonna be done with this card. So you can see that these cards were pretty simple. Like I said, I didn't do a lot of prep work with these cards. I just kind of kept it pretty simple. And bang, we've got 3 cards done. And just, I'm gonna say less than an hour, because I start at 7 and I talk a little bit at the beginning before I get started. So like I said, I kind of went from start to finish with these, and 3 cards within an hour. So these are all pretty simple cards. Okay. Oh, I forgot one thing. I need to color his collar in. So again, this is a set that allows you to get some cards done really, really quick. Okay, so now let's bring in some of our bling. And I think what I want to do is put like a big one, a medium, and a small, and we're going to do that on the other side as well. And I know I always tell you guys to use odd numbers, and I know I'm going to have someone looking at this going, oh, you put 6, that's an even number. But here's the deal with this. It is even numbers, but they're in different sections. So it's still, because I have 3 on this side and 3 on this side, it still pleases the eye. Because we don't have 6 all together. Does that make sense? And then we're going to put 1 here and 1 right there. All right, card number 3 is done. What do you think? Do you love it? So Merry Christmas, and it looks like he's kind of after this. This looks like my puppy, and she's after the bows. Guarantee you. That would be my dog. She's fixing to tear them to shreds. Okay, so Merry Christmas, and then on the inside, may your days be furry and bright. Fun! Guys, this is another really fun bundle. So let me bring in all the cards we did tonight. Okay, so I did do 2 Christmas cards, but then I also showed you how to do a card that isn't a Christmas card. So tons of fun. It's a really cute set. It's the let me see if I can get everything in the picture here. The Christmas Scottie, and it's got this fun little punch that goes with it. So ta-da! There we go. So I hope you guys like them. This was a set, I wasn't really sure what I would do with it, but once I started playing, tons of fun. And remember, this one is kind of that fun fold card where we did the stamp that ribbon over the crease. And look how fun. All right, ladies, I hope you enjoyed the cards I showed you tonight. Again, it is called the Christmas Scottie Bundle. Let me put that up for you. And so that's the bundle where you can get the stamp set and the punch. And then I also use this double oval punch for 2 of the cards. And then on that last card, or on that first card, I brought in the stylish shape dies. So, yeah, tons of fun. Again, as always, guys, thank you so much for joining me. And again, if you guys are watching this replay on YouTube, you can still make comments, you can ask questions, and it dings me on my phone every time someone leaves a comment on YouTube, and so I will get back with you as quickly as possible to answer any of your questions. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to give you one last look at this really fun set. And I hope you guys enjoyed my designs tonight. Anyway, guys, have a great night, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.